listening to the WrestleHavoc Podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes. This is the WrestleHavoc Podcast.
What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky DeReyes, right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, here to review AEW Dynamite from May 17th, 2023. We are continuing our road to Las Vegas at Double or Nothing, in which we will see the four-way match with MJF defending his AEW World Championship against Darby Allin, Jungleboy, and Sammy Guevara. Two of the pillars were in action. Actually, no, three of the pillars were in action tonight. We had Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy team up together. We also had Sammy Guevara wrestle a jobber, as well as Jungleboy really getting the worst out of all the rest of the pillars, wrestling Rushin, which was a hard-hitting, great match that we had on Dynamite. Very newsworthy week regarding AEW. A lot of news, of course. The big announcement, that being AEW Collision, has been officially announced. We're actually not going to be going deep into Collision because there's way more news to be talked about. Of course, CM Punk is all over the news. We are actually going to be talking about that tomorrow on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, so be on the lookout for that. We're going to be discussing basically the alleged $1 billion deal that wasn't announced. There was no deal announced at the upfronts. Only Collision was announced. Of course, CM Punk was originally a part of the press release, and then he got removed. A lot of stories with CM Punk. He had basically a Twitter brawl with Brian Alvarez, which, honestly, man, everywhere CM Punk goes, there's a lot of drama regarding him. So we do not know if CM Punk is going to be returning at this point. Honestly, I genuinely do believe he will be returning. I don't think this is a scenario in which, he had a big falling out, as a lot of the dirt sheets are saying, in my opinion. But we're going to be talking about that in the next episode of the WrestleHavoc Podcast, so be on the lookout for tomorrow for that video. The Raw review hasn't been up on the channel yet, so hopefully by the end of today, I will be uploading the Raw review for you guys. But we got a lot of shows happening. Of course, in the next couple of months, we have the debut of Collision happening June 17th, which is going to be a big deal. AEW has unveiled the first few dates for Collision, and I believe July 22nd is going to be the Collision show at the Prudential Center, which hopefully I will be attending because I am from New Jersey. But we had a lot of things happen on the show. Overall, this was a great episode of Dynamite. You could say it was overshadowed by all of the CM Punk news, which is a common occurrence with AEW. Literally, a lot of good things that happen in AEW get overshadowed by a lot of backstage bullshit drama, which is a common occurrence, and I'm not going to shy away from that. But overall, this was a great episode of Dynamite this week. Of course, we had a lot of hard-hitting matches, as I talked about earlier. We had Rush versus Jungleboy, Switchblade Jay White, and Ricky Starks had a banger of a match, which ended in a DQ, in which, honestly, I didn't think it was the right decision to make, but I definitely do see them having a match at Double or Nothing. We had a lot of matches for Double or Nothing announced as well. Rodrick Strong wrestled Chris Jericho in a great Falls Count Anywhere match. We had Hikaru, Shida, and Britt Baker taking on the Outcasts, Toni Storm, and Ruby Soho in a great women's tag team match, in my opinion. Fantastic stuff. Usually when it comes to the women's division in AEW, there's a lot of problems with it. I have gone on record and stated that the Outcast is, I don't want to say it's a failed experiment at this point, but from what it looks like, it definitely looks like a failed experiment. I mean, there's really no direction when it comes to the Outcasts. And honestly, I genuinely believe that it's kind of on the same boat as Damage Control. Like, Damage Control is just, there's no direction whatsoever. And literally every week on Dynamite, whenever the Outcasts are involved, it's literally the same shit every fucking week. We had Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh in a segment in which you had FTR basically attack them. And we had the debut of Karen Jarrett. Of course, Sammy Guevara was in action as well. And we also had Wardlow kicking off the show with Christian Cage basically taking out Wardlow at the end of that segment. So we're going to be talking a lot of things AEW Dynamite and much more right here on the AEW Dynamite review from May 17th, 2023. But before we get on with all this craziness regarding AEW Dynamite, make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc Podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the WrestleHavoc Podcast is also available on audio platforms. It is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to listen to the WrestleHavoc Podcast in audio format, it is available on all of those platforms. Of course, the Raw review, as I've stated earlier in the review, will be up hopefully by the end of today as well. I'm going to try to film the SmackDown review right after SmackDown so I can get that up as well. And tomorrow, we're going to be focusing on the next episode of the WrestleHavoc Podcast, in which we are going to be talking about everything that we need to know about AEW Collision. What should we expect in all of the CM Punk drama that came with the announcement? Basically, Wednesday was supposed to be a big day for AEW, and it was in the beginning, and then it ended up, just being a day of pure speculation via a lot of the dirt sheets regarding CM Punk. Ace Steel is in the news. Apparently, he has been rehired months ago, which honestly, there's one person that shouldn't be brought back in AEW. It's Ace Steel, in my opinion. But I will go deep down with all the news tomorrow on the WrestleHavoc Podcast. But let's get on with the show, since I've been rambling. The show kicks off with Wardlow, who is the current TNT champion. Very rare that the TNT champion actually kicks off Dynamite, but he cuts a promo, and he says, last week, Christian made a lot of promises that he wants to see him follow up through with, and he calls out Christian Cage to spit in his face. And then what happens is Christian and Luchasaurus come out. Both men end up facing off. Wardlow, and the mic was not even on both of these men, Wardlow dares him to spit in his face, and Christian says he doesn't have what it takes to be the TNT champion. Christian is about to spit in his face, and then Luchasaurus comes in. At this point, both men fight it out. Cage ends up hitting a low blow on Wardlow. Luchasaurus ends up going for a boot, and then Cage goes for repeated right hands. After that, Luchasaurus brings out a ladder, and he takes it in the ring, and then Christian picks up the ladder and drives it into the face of Wardlow. After that, Cage ends up hitting the kill switch on Wardlow on the ladder, and what it looks like right now is that they're definitely setting up a ladder match for Double or Nothing, which honestly I'm definitely 100% down for. I mean, if you really think about it, the TNT championship scene, I have gone on record and stated that honestly, the TNT title scene is just not as important as it was years prior. I've gone on record and stated that the TNT championship literally is a dead championship, and it still is. I mean, the direction with the TNT championship is absolute dog shit in AEW. There's a lot of problems right now in AEW, trust me, creatively and outside of the ring. But one of the issues that a lot of people have criticized AEW, and rightfully so, is the scene of the TNT championship. The scene of the TNT championship for months has been just no direction whatsoever. Constant flip-flopping of the championships. We all know Darby's title reign ended up, shortly, which was ridiculous. I loved the fact that they put the belt on Darby, but the fact that they had him drop it back to Samoa Joe made absolutely no sense. And then you had Wardlow winning it back from Samoa Joe in a not really so good match at Revolution. And honestly, if you really think about it, Powerhouse Hobbs winning that championship made no sense whatsoever. The QT Marshall shit, no direction whatsoever. Constant flip-flopping of the championships. We're going to be getting a ladder match at Double or Nothing. Now, it wasn't officially announced until later on in the show, but after this opening segment, it definitely looked like we were going to be getting a ladder match, and it was officially made official. Jesus Christ, I feel like Adam Pearce. We're getting a ladder match at Double or Nothing, and it's going to be Christian Cage versus Wardlow. Now, you would think that it'd be Luchasaurus in this position, but it isn't. Honestly, Christian Cage, the work that he has been doing on Dynamite ever since he came back and ever since he turned heel last summer, definitely, I've been a big fan of Christian. A lot of the shit that he says on the microphone is very fucked up, but that is the true definition of a heel in my opinion. And honestly, Christian is such a good heel, and all the heel work that he's been doing in AEW has been absolutely fantastic. And honestly, I wouldn't honestly, I know this sounds like kind of contradictory to what I'm going to be saying, But I wouldn't be against Wardlow dropping the TNT Championship to Christian Cage. I genuinely believe that, because I feel like if Christian Cage holds the TNT Championship, I feel like it can give the TNT Championship the legitimacy that it hadn't had for a while. And I genuinely believe that Christian Cage, with all the work that he has been doing for the past couple months, have been paid off, and he could honestly win the TNT Championship, and you can definitely go on forward with that. Honestly, what is the direction with Wardlow that they're doing right now? I mean, I know they're pairing him up with Arn Anderson and all that stuff, but I don't know, man. We're going to have to wait and see what happens, but it looks like it's going to be a great match that's going to be happening at Double or Nothing, in which we are going to be getting a ladder match between both Wardlow and Christian Cage at the pay-per-view. We got Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy taking on Lee Moriarty and Big Bill of the Firm. The Firm is dead to rights. Like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe the Firm is still a thing. Remember when MJF first brought in the Firm last year? Yeah, the Firm went from here all the way down to here. No direction with the Firm whatsoever. Lee Moriarty and Cassidy Star. Actually, before I go through with the match, this was a very good tag team match. As I've stated at the top of this review, there was a lot of great wrestling on this show. Very good matches on the show. Definitely, it felt like a big deal, Dynamite. You know, Dynamite was great last week, and I thought Dynamite this week was great, and a lot of it had to do with the in-ring stuff. This match was no different. Lee Moriarty and Orange Cassidy start. We get an uppercut by Lee Moriarty. We then get a second uppercut by Lee Moriarty. We then get a sunset flip by Cassidy. We get a bunch of roll-up reversals by both men. Then we get a double pin and a near fall. Cassidy is in control with his hands in his pockets. At this point, Darby Allin tags in. Big Bill makes the tag. And after that, Big Bill ragdolls the shit out of Darby Allin to the mat. And when I mean he ragdolled him, he ragdolled the shit out of him. It was insane. Big Bill then gets sent to the outside. Lee then tags in. Lee then goes to the outside, but then Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy goes for the double suicide dives on both heels. After that, once we're back from commercial break, Big Bill picks up Orange Cassidy. After that, Bill goes for a delayed vertical suplex. After that, the referee gets distracted, I believe, and you had the crowd in Texas chant, "The referee sucks," which is hilarious. Cassidy then pushes Lee to Big Bill. Darby Allin then tags in. We get a double coffin splash on both heels. Darby goes for repeated coffin splashes on both in each corner. After that, Bill grabs Darby and hits a furious boss man slam. After that, we get a cover by Bill and a near fall. Cassidy tags in. We get a drop kick onto the knees of Bill. We get a tornado DDT by Orange Cassidy. And then Lee goes for the roll-up, and then we get a near fall. Lee then drops Cassidy down, and then he applies the submission. We then get a roll-up by Cassidy, and then Darby goes for the tag. At this point, Lee is on the top, but then both babyfaces go to the top, but then we get a double superplex by Darby and Cassidy. They then run into a double clothesline by Big Bill. But then we get a stunt dog millionaire countered by Big Bill, but then Darby goes for the code red. We then get a bunch of waistlock switches by Lee and Darby Allin. Then we get the beach break by Orange Cassidy on Moriarty, but then Darby goes to the top. At this point, Bill is on the apron, but then Orange Cassidy comes in and hits the orange punch on Big Bill. Then Darby Allin goes for the coffin drop, but he is not done. Darby then ends up pinning Lee Moriarty with the headlock takeover, and then we get a cover, and Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy end up getting the win. That was a nice touch with Darby Allin with that finish, because, of course, the whole story with MJF and Darby Allin dating back to 2 years ago was the headlock takeover. And I love the fact that in this feud that they have going into the four-way at Double or Nothing, Darby Allin is applying that into this match, and he's definitely most likely going to be applying it in the four-way as we head closer to Double or Nothing. But overall, this was a great match. Alex Marvez is backstage with the Young Bucks. He asks for an update on Kenny Omega, and what happens is the Blackpool Combat Club is behind them, but what happens is the Bucks throw their bags at the Blackpool Combat Club members, but then what happens is the Blackpool Combat Club end up gaining the advantage. Claudio drives Nick onto the front of the truck, and then they attempt to injure Matt Jackson, and then Moxley pans to the camera and literally holds the camera, and he goes close up and he says, "They are the only elite in this business." And the feud between the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite only escalated even further as we headed towards the Don Callis promo, which was a great segment nonetheless. Renee Paquette is with Wardlow. Wardlow is getting an ice pack from the doctors. Arn Anderson comes in. He looks pissed off. He literally snatches that ice pack away from Wardlow and literally throws it to the wall. and says he should have been out there, but then Wardlow ends up telling Arn Anderson, I told you specifically, you should stay here. And what happens is Wardlow pants to the camera and he challenges Christian to a ladder match at Double or Nothing for the TNT Championship. So it's official. We're going to be getting that match at DON. Renee Paquette, once again, she's literally teleporting everywhere, kind of like Tony Schiavone. She's backstage with Orange Cassidy, and she talks about Kyle Fletcher and what happened on Rampage. And she talks about how there are a lot of people that want the shot at Orange Cassidy's International Championship. And Orange Cassidy says that he will fight them all. Wow, great. Of course, they're telling the story of Orange Cassidy kind of getting exhausted because if you really think about it, Orange Cassidy has been, in most weeks, almost every week, he has been defending his International Championship on Dynamite almost every week. There are times where, like, literally every week he would open the show. And throughout his recent matches, I don't want to say he's been taking the easy way out, but he had a sense of like he escaped his opponent by like pinning them with the roll up and stuff. And they're really telling the story of Orange Cassidy is literally getting exhausted out of all of this shit. They're actually acknowledging that. So it looks like they're planting the seeds for an actual eventual title drop with Orange Cassidy and the International Championship. And if you really think about it, Orange Cassidy has held on that title for months. I believe it was October or September where he won the International title, where at the time it was called the All Atlantic title. But honestly, man, after this show, there's a lot of contenders that could possibly beat Orange Cassidy, in my opinion. There are two men that I honestly think of that should beat Orange Cassidy, and the two men are either Konosuke Takeshita or Rush. Most likely, I hope it's Rush, because after the match that he had with Jungleboy, Rush could literally carry that title to the next level. That's just my opinion right there, but we're going to have to wait and see what they do. This is not the last backstage interview that Orange Cassidy had with Renee Paquette. After that, we had Sammy Guevara taking on Exodus Prime, who is a jobber. Immediately, this was a squash match. Sammy goes for the knee. He picks up Prime and hits the GTH. We get a cover by Sammy, and he ends up winning the match. And then he gets the microphone. He says, Austin, every time when he remembers, every time when he comes here, he remembers the good old days. He wrestled in the Indies up and down Texas, and he remembers the good times and the bad times. It brought him here and made him who he is today. He talks about how he made a lot of mistakes, and we all watched him grow up and see his mistakes first time. The right place is Las Vegas on May 28th, when he gets to basically, take out everybody, and he listens to what's in here, and, he listens to all the shit you can't teach, and he listens to his heart, and his heart says he will be the AEW World Champion. I like Sammy Guevara. But let's be honest with ourselves. Honestly, the person that's going to take the pin is going to be Sammy Guevara. I don't think there's no chance in hell MJF is getting pinned. Most likely he's going to be retaining. No chance in hell Jungle Boy is going to get pinned. And there's no chance in hell that Darby Allin is going to get pinned in this match. Honestly, out of all the four pillars, Sammy Guevara is like below here. That doesn't mean I hate Sammy Guevara. I'm just saying, if you really compare to the progression that each pillar has made, MJF has made the most progression. For fuck's sakes, he's the world champion right now. Darby Allin is closer to MJF. Jungle Boy is definitely headed in that direction, but still needs a lot of work. And Sammy Guevara still is like below all three of the rest of the pillars. That doesn't mean I hate Sammy Guevara. I'm just telling the truth. And honestly, out of all people that are going to be pinned in this match, Sammy Guevara is going to get pinned in this match. I guarantee you, in my opinion. He's not winning the world championship. We then get a video package on the four pillars. After that, Tony Schiavone interviews Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh. Holy fucking shit, I'm tired of seeing these guys on television. FTR is behind, and they literally push Satnam Singh off the stage, and Satnam Singh went through, I don't know how many tables, but he went through a lot of tables. Jay Lethal then hits Dax Harwood with the leather belt. Dax goes for a back body drop, but then Dax rips the clothes off of Jay Lethal. After that, Cash works on Jarrett, and then Lethal gets sent to the timekeeper's table. But then FTR managed to take Jarrett in the ring. They set up the big rig, but what happens is I don't want to say a mysterious woman. You already know who this woman is. Karen Jarrett comes in from behind, and Jeff Jarrett ends up hitting the stroke. Satnam Singh comes in and then hits the double choke slam, and then Jay and Jeff hit FTR with the double guitar shot, and the heels stand tall alongside Jeff Jarrett's wife, Karen Jarrett. So looks like Karen Jarrett is going to be All Elite. And a lot of people were complaining on the internet, like, what the fuck am I watching? TNA Impact? That was absolutely hilarious right there. Honestly, if you think that way, I can't really blame you regarding all of these people, because Karen Jarrett, of course, she has a long history in TNA. Of course, she was originally Kurt Angle's wife coming in, and then, you know, all that fiasco happened, and then you already know the story. She was Karen Angle. She was a very good heel, and then, of course, they did the whole angle with Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett in TNA back in, like, 2011, I believe. But honestly, what are my thoughts on Karen Jarrett, sorry, being part of AEW? I'm not mad about it. I mean, like, honestly, I always thought Karen Jarrett was a great heel. I always thought that, even to this day. And I loved the work that she did leading into Ric Flair's last match, if you guys do not recall that last year, or I think it was last summer that happened. So, honestly, you know, I'm not really angry about it. Do I like the fact that Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal are constantly on television? Yeah. Do I like the fact that FTR is feuding with Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal for the tag team championships? Absolutely. I don't like the fact that they were feuding with them, considering the fact that I feel like with FTR winning the tag team championships, I honestly believe there should be a bigger direction for FTR. And hopefully, once we lead closer and closer to the debut of Collision, we definitely get there. And with the definitely, hopefully, rumored return of CM Punk looming, I think we have a greater direction for FTR after that. But most likely, as we head towards Double or Nothing, let's be honest, FTR are definitely going to be retaining those tag team championships. Renee Paquette is backstage with Darby Allin, and she talks about how the headlock takeover was a message to MJF. And Darby Allin says it was the biggest match. It's the biggest match of all of their careers. And then Sammy Guevara comes in to talk about how they have a unique history and he respects him. And it says it's either him or it's Jungleboy. One of them needs to take the belts off of that, off of that price. And both fist pump each other, basically saying that, you know, we're going to be enemies in the match, but one of us has to take that title away from Maxwell Jacob Friedman. So it looks like they kind of have somewhat of a truce, honestly. But then after that, we got Hikaru Shida and Britt Baker taking on Toni Storm and Ruby Soho. You guys know my thoughts on the Outcasts. You know, originally a couple of months ago when the Outcasts were first formed, you would think that there would be some sort of direction for the Outcasts. And I would come on record on this show and say, you know, I think they're going to be leading to something much greater when it comes to the Outcasts. It's already May, and I genuinely feel like I was 100% wrong. I feel like there's no direction whatsoever regarding the Outcasts. And I genuinely believe, you know, the Outcasts, and even though I like Saraya, even though I like Toni Storm, and even though I like Ruby Soho, they make me kind of want to turn off the television because I'm just sick and tired of the Outcasts. Because every time when the Outcasts are in some sort of match every week on Dynamite or on Rampage, mostly on Dynamite, literally it's the same shit over and over and over and over and over again. That's what it basically is. The match happens, the match ends, and there's a fucking run-in. That's basically the whole thing with the Outcasts, and the spray paint don't even make things better. But I will say, this match was very good. You know, it's always with the women when they have a tag team match, they literally tear the house down. And in this match, they absolutely tore the house down. Hikaru Shida comes out with new music, and I will say, Hikaru Shida's new music is fucking badass. Britt Baker, of course, she is teaming up with Hikaru Shida to take on Toni Storm and Ruby Soho. So let's get through with the match. The Outcasts are in control. Shida goes for the head scissors, and then we get a suplex in the corner on Ruby, landing on Toni Storm. We then get repeated rights by Hikaru Shida, and then she then hits a dropkick off of the second rope. After that, Ruby Soho goes for the knee, and then we get repeated rights by Shida. At this point, Storm is the legal woman. We then get an enziguri by Hikaru Shida, but then Britt Baker tags in. We then get repeated right hands by Britt Baker. We get a right hand by Britt, and then she follows up with the swinging neck breaker. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. After that, Saraya drags Britt to the apron without the referee looking. Storm goes for the hip attack, but then Britt gets taken to the barricade. Storm then takes her back into the ring. Once her back commercial break, the hot tag is made. Both Shida and Ruby exchange shots, and then we get a running elbow by Shida. And then on Storm, she takes out Saraya onto the apron, and then what happens is Shida goes for a crossbody on the outside. Then Shida ends up going for the jumping knee, and then we get a roll-up and a near fall. Storm comes in. She misses a right hand, and then we get a right hand by Shida. Shida ends up going for the Falcon Arrow. Britt makes the tag. We get a butterfly suplex by Britt Baker. After that, Britt ends up going for the Meteora. We get a cover engineer fall when Storm interferes, but then she sends Shida to the outside. We then get a neck breaker on Storm by Britt, but then that leads to Storm accidentally hitting a DDT on Ruby. We then get a cover by Britt, and then she tries to go for the lockjaw on I believe it was on Storm. And then we get a roll-up by Ruby Soho, but then Ruby ends up going for the no future, but then Storm ends up going for the right hand. Britt then goes for the air raid crash. Then she hits the curve stomp, but then Saraya is on the apron distracting the referee. Storm goes for the spray. She then hits the Storm Zero, and then we get a cover, and the Outcasts get the win. Now, overall thoughts on this match. This was a great match. I loved this match for what it was. Again, every time when the women are in some sort of tag team match, they definitely tear the house down, and it only makes it better when the crowd is hot. And I will say, man, this show, the crowd in Texas was fucking hot. The crowd was absolutely amazing, and they definitely made it better with this tag team match. Now, I believe officially the match has been made, and Toni Storm is going to be wrestling Jamie Hayter once again at Double or Nothing, and I'm definitely excited about that. I believe they tore the house down at Full Gear last year, and they're definitely going to be tearing the house down at Double or Nothing, so I'm definitely excited for that. All right, let me actually pull up the Double or Nothing card because literally there's a lot of matches that have been announced for Double or Nothing, and I forgot to put them in my notes, but I'm definitely going to go through the whole card for Double or Nothing. Yes, it's official. It's going to be Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter for the Women's Championship at Double or Nothing, so that's going to be great. After that, we get an Orange Cassidy backstage interview. Once again, 20 people went to talk to Tony Khan, and Orange Cassidy says, I'll fight them all. And what happens is it looks like it's going to be 21 people because, of course, he is included, and it's official. It's going to be the Blackjack Battle Royal at Double or Nothing. So, honestly, very interesting events that have occurred. Orange Cassidy will be defending his international championship against 20 men in the Blackjack Battle Royal. Now, what are the rules for this Blackjack Battle Royal? Is it going to be kind of like the Casino Battle Royale? We have absolutely no idea. But do I see this being a scenario in which Orange Cassidy is going to drop his championship? Honestly, I have no idea. It can literally swing any way. But honestly, again, I've been talking about this for weeks. They're setting up the seeds for Orange Cassidy to drop that international championship. And when he drops that international championship, it has to be against somebody that is credible enough that can definitely carry, I don't want to say the lineage, but definitely carry the prestige of the international championship and literally defend it, kind of like what Orange Cassidy did with that title. After that, we got the Tony Khan announcement. Now, this is going to be a very interesting topic because, of course, earlier in the day, we had the announcement that AEW is going to be launching a new show. It's going to be a 2-hour live show called AEW Saturday Collision. And I love the logo, first bat. Of course, they took it. A lot of people are saying they copied the Nitro logo. I view it as them taking inspiration from the Nitro logo because, of course, it's going to be on TNT, all that stuff. It's inspiration, in my opinion, instead of copying. It looks like this show is definitely going to be a big deal. Now, everybody thought, because last week we all thought Tony Khan basically stated that, there's going to be an elaboration on the announcement and there's going to be a huge announcement. So a lot of people immediately thought that this was going to be the announcement of CM Punk, which ended up not being the case. It ended up being kind of an elaboration of the announcement that we already had earlier in the day during the Warner Brothers Discovery upfronts. And the elaboration was we basically got the first 6 dates and the first 5, I should say. Actually, no. We got only 5 venues for the 6 dates that we were going to be getting for Collision. So on Saturday, June 24th, they're going to be in Toronto, Ontario, Canada at the Scotiabank Arena. After that, on Thursday, June 29th, it's going to be in the First Ontario Centre in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, which is very interesting because of the fact that this is actually going to be taped on a Thursday and Collision is going to be airing on a Saturday. And there was actually another report that was stating that Collision was going to be live in most weeks, but there's going to be some days where it's going to be taped on a Thursday. On Saturday, July 8th, it's going to be in Regina or Regina. I think it's Regina. Tony Khan called it Regina. It's going to be in Regina, Saskatchewan. And on Saturday, July 15th, It's going to be in Calgary, Alberta, Canada at the Saddle Dome. Now, I believe the Saddle Dome event was originally scheduled to be a House Rules tour. And if you guys think about it, the Saddle Dome, and I looked it up, the Saddle Dome is a 20,000-seat arena. It's a huge arena, so this is going to be a very, very big deal. And, of course, this is during the tour that AEW is going to have in Canada for, of course, Forbidden Door. So they're going to be at the Saddle Dome Saturday, July 15th at the Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I marked the fuck out for this. On Saturday, July 22nd, they're going to return to the United States and Newark, New Jersey at the Prudential Center, which made me fucking excited because every time when AEW or WWE come to the Prudential Center, I immediately get my tickets and I go, and I believe tickets are going to be on sale for tomorrow, so I got to snag those tickets as well as I can. I got very good seats for both Rampage and Full Gear last year. Hopefully I can get better seats, hopefully for Collision, but Collision is set to be a big deal. But what's very interesting is that the premiere date for Collision is going to be Saturday, June 17th, and they did not officially announce the location for Collision for the debut show. Now, the rumored show, and I believe the venue's already booked, is the United Center in Chicago. With all the news regarding CM Punk, a lot of people are stating that there was a big falling out regarding Tony Khan and CM Punk, which I absolutely do not believe. I think it's pure bullshit. I think it's going to be a situation in which they're going to do something similar with the First Dance, and which basically, you know, kind of like tease CM Punk without telling you guys CM Punk is going to show up, but selling out the United Center is no easy task. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens, but I genuinely believe it's definitely going to be the United Center. But it's very weird that, you know, CM Punk was in the press release and then he got removed from the press release, and then it looked like we were supposed to get a CM Punk announcement, but it says that, you know, stay tuned to TBS next week to get the official announcement of where Collision's going to be premiering. So honestly, that's a little weird, but we're going to have to wait and see. I will be talking about Collision and all the CM Punk stuff tomorrow on the WrestleHavoc podcast because there's a lot to dive in. I'm basically going to be giving you guys everything that you need to know regarding Collision, the upfronts, what we all thought we were going to be getting at the upfronts regarding that $1 billion deal because it was a big deal regarding AEW. A lot of stuff regarding Collision. Basically, I genuinely believe that the majority of tomorrow's show is going to be about Collision and CM Punk. So be on the lookout for that video tomorrow on the WrestleHavoc podcast. All right. Back on with AEW Dynamite, we had Rodrick Strong versus Chris Jericho in a Falls Count Anywhere match. This was a great match. Now, the stipulation for this match was both the Jericho Appreciation Society and Adam Cole are banned from the building. And honestly, this was a great match. This was very fun to watch. I absolutely loved this for what it was. This was a fucking chop fest that happened all around the arena. Let's go through the match. So Strong goes after Jericho. We get a couple of chops by Rodrick Strong. Both men exchange chops, but then Strong drops him down. We get a cover engineer fall. We then get a chop by Rodrick Strong, and then we get a chop by Jericho. Both men continue to exchange chops. We get a kick by Jericho, but then Jericho takes Strong to the outside. After that, both men are on the apron, but then Strong drives Jericho onto the apron, but then we get a cover on the outside by Strong. We then get a chop on the outside by Strong, but then both men proceed to fight it out. Strong then gets sent to the timekeeper's area. And then once they're back in the ring, Jericho applies the walls on Rodrick Strong, but then Strong makes it to the bottom rope. Once you're back from commercial break, a brawl breaks loose in the crowd, and then Jericho gets dropped down. What happens is we get a cover engineer fall. We get a right hand by Jericho, but then Jericho wants to hit a suplex through the table, but then we get a cover and another near fall. After that, they're on the concession stands, and you can definitely see, like, you had like the majority of the fans like literally like follow them around, which is great to see. Strong drives Jericho onto the counter. They're fighting throughout the arena. Jericho ends up regaining control, but then both make it to the stairs, and they're on that one platform that you can't stand up on in the stairs, which I don't even know what that's called. They end up exchanging chops once again, which was fun as hell. After that, Jericho gouges the eyes of Strong, but then we get a cover by Jericho and a near fall. Jericho then has a chair, and what happens is Strong splashes, I don't know what it was, onto the face of Jericho, but you had the commentator stating that it was Mr. Sophie on the face of Jericho. Then after that, Jericho throws a trash can on Rodrick Strong. After that, both make it to the outside, but then Adam Cole is behind him. Now, the stipulation was Adam Cole was banned from the building, as well as the Jericho Appreciation Society. So technically, Adam Cole is following the rules here. He wasn't in the building. He was outside of the building. He's behind Chris Jericho. And what happens is Adam Cole beats the shit out of Chris Jericho. Cole ends up hitting the boom. And then Strong goes for the knee, and then we get a cover, and Rodrick Strong beats Chris Jericho. Overall thoughts on the Falls Count Anywhere match that we had between Rodrick Strong and Chris Jericho. This was a fun match that they had. Great match overall. This, of course, is definitely leading to a match between Adam Cole and Chris Jericho. And hopefully, after this Chris Jericho feud is done with, we can lead towards bigger things with Adam Cole, because we all know AEW is basically setting up Adam Cole to be a big babyface. And hopefully in the next couple of months, he can enter the World Championship title scene, because that's what it looks like they're going to be going for with. And you even have a lot of people on social media saying that Adam Cole should win the World Championship. The thing is with MJF is there's a lot of people that can potentially take the title away from him. There's guys like Eddie Kingston that could take the title away from him. A lot of people were pointing at Grand Slam that, you could have Eddie Kingston beat MJF. A lot of people are saying Darby Allin, maybe after this four-way, it can lead towards a greater story with Darby Allin. A lot of people are saying Adam Cole as well, or Ricky Starks. A lot of different possibilities on who could beat MJF right now. But I feel like right now when it comes to MJF losing the World Championship, he's not losing that title anywhere near right now. Like, there's no way right now he's going to be dropping those titles. I think we have to wait further down the line, probably by the end of the year or in the beginning of next year. But it's definitely going to be very interesting to see what they do with MJF, and especially with Adam Cole, because, of course, after this Jericho feud, and hopefully they do not have Chris Jericho and Adam Cole feud for like the next 5 months at the Jericho Appreciation Society. I hope they do something forward with Adam Cole, and hopefully you can definitely set him up for a main event spot in the future. After that, we got a hard-hitting fucking match between Roosh and Jungleboy. It's hilarious, man. You have Sammy Guevara, wrestling a jobber, and he ended up getting a promo. You had Darby Allin team with Orange Cassidy, and you have Roosh wrestling Jungleboy. You have Jungleboy wrestling Roosh. I feel bad for Jungleboy, man. But nonetheless, this match was fucking awesome. I absolutely loved this damn match. Roosh is fucking amazing. Put that international championship on Roosh. If there's any guy that can beat Orange Cassidy, it's fucking Roosh. I don't know, man. Roosh, just the way he wrestles, man, this guy is the definition of stiff. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a very good way, man. Just the realism that Roosh brings every time he steps into that squared circle. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Honestly, this guy can carry the mid-card scene in AEW. He can literally carry that international championship. Holy fucking shit. This match was badass. Jack Perry, Jungleboy, offers a handshake. We get a kick by Roosh. Roosh then takes him to the outside. And this is where Roosh just fucking goes berserk. We get a chop by Roosh. And this is the first of many chops. Just like the Falls Count Anywhere match, this was a fucking chop fest. A bunch of chops, a bunch of overhand chops. Insane. Roosh runs, and this is a common occurrence with Roosh. This is one of his signature maneuvers. He runs and just furiously sends Jungleboy repeatedly onto the barricade. He just drives Jungleboy onto the barricade. He continues to do what he does. At this point, Jack Perry is busted open. Then they get sent to the crowd, and once they're back from break, both are in the ring. Jack Perry gets sent into the corner. Roosh no-sells the comebacker lariat attempt, and we get a headbutt by Roosh. We then get a chop by Jungleboy, and then we get an overhand chop once again by Roosh, but then we get a spinning kick by Jungleboy. After that, we get a knee by Roosh, and then we get a drop kick by Jack Perry. We then get a thrust kick by Roosh, but then Roosh gets taken to the top, but then Jungleboy comes in. We get a bunch of overhand chops by Jungleboy, but then both men exchange chops. Jungleboy ends up going for the Hurricane Rana. At this point, Jose interferes, and Roosh misses a right hand. Jungleboy applies the snare trap, but then both men are on the apron. Both men end up exchanging shots. Roosh goes for this spot. I'm reading through these notes, and I completely forgot about this spot. This spot paranoid the shit out of me. Even after this match was over, and even after Dynamite was over, all I could think about was this spot. Roosh, both Jungleboy and Roosh are on the apron. Roosh ends up hitting a fucking belly-to-belly suplex, or a belly-to-belly throw, on Jungleboy on the floor. And I shit you not, Jungleboy damn near almost hit his neck and almost broke his neck the way he fell. That was insane. Once you're back in the ring, we get an open hand chop. We get a bunch of elbow strikes by Roosh, but then Roosh puts his hands on the referee. Jungleboy ends up going for the roll-up, and then he grabs the trunks. Jack Perry ends up winning the match. After that, Los Ingobernables attack Jungleboy, and what happens is Darby Allin comes in for the save, and he tries to attack Preston Vance and Roosh and everybody else. After that, Sammy Guevara comes back in. We got a knee by Sammy, and then he follows up with a bunch of kicks. Darby goes for the Scorpion Death Drop, and then we get a double drop kick by both Sammy and Darby. Meanwhile, MJF is watching all this shit go down, and Renee Paquette comes in, and MJF looks pissed off. And what happens is Renee tries to ask a question to MJF, but what happens is that he snatches the microphone away from Renee Paquette. Jesus Christ. Out of all people you snatch the microphone away, you snatch the microphone away from Jon Moxley's wife. I don't know about y'all, but like that was fucking savagery right there. MJF is clearly pissed off. After that, we get a Toni Storm backstage interview. She talks about how she doesn't see Jamie Hayter setting records, and she isn't the same Toni as before. She is different, and she will come to Las Vegas and put the title on the line against her at Double or Nothing. It's going to be a great fucking match. If there's any indication, bro, their match at Full Gear was fucking awesome. They're going to tear the house down. After that, you get Ricky Starks versus Switchblade Jay White. This match was fucking awesome as well. A great match overall. I will say the finish was, in my opinion, not really that good. I thought the finish was fucking stupid. You know, I get you want to keep Switchblade Jay White strong, but him kind of getting the win in a DQ kind of makes him a little bit inferior. Now, granted, they're going to continue on this feud, and most likely, it looks like, in my eyes, they're going to be having a rematch at Double or Nothing. They haven't announced the match, I believe, but they're going to be having a rematch at Double or Nothing. That's what I see happening. And honestly, both men definitely had a great match. I just didn't like the finish. You know, very rarely we see disqualification finishes in AEW because WWE literally does them to death. And everybody tends to complain to fans, you know, oh, you don't complain when AEW does DQs. Yeah, I don't complain when AEW does DQs because every time when they do it, most of the time, it kind of makes sense and it fits in with the story. Every time when WWE does it, they do it like literally every fucking week. It's insane. But I will say, the DQ finish, in my opinion, was a little bit unnecessary. They could have came up with something better in my eyes. But nonetheless, this was a very good match. Jay runs away from Starks in the beginning. We then get a side headlock by Jay White, but then Jay regains control. Jay ends up going for repeated kicks, but then Ricky Starks regains control. On the outside, both men fight it out. At this point, Jay White is in control, but then we get a cover and a near fall. We get a chop by Jay White, but then we get a backdrop by Starks. Once we're on the outside, Jay White drives him to the apron, and then we get a chop by Jay White, and then Starks fights back, but then Jay drops him onto the apron. Once we're back from break, we get a chop. We get a bunch of chops and rights by Starks and White. We get a knee by Jay White, but then after that, we get a clothesline by Starks. We then get a knee by Starks, but then we get a back elbow by Starks. Then Starks ends up going for a belly-to-belly throw on Jay White. He then follows up with a tornado DDT. And then we get a cover into near fall, but then Jay White goes for the DDT once again. We get a running uppercut into the corner, but then what happens is Jay White drops Starks onto the top rope. Then Jay White goes for the Uranagi. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. Starks fights back with a bunch of back elbows. After that, Starks gets thrown onto the outside. Once we're back into the ring, after that, so we get a swinging neck breaker by Starks. Starks is, after that, is, I completely botched my notes right there. We get a cover and a near fall. Starks picks him up again. Juice Robinson, who was on the outside, interferes, but then we get a roll-up by Starks, then we get a near fall. Starks ends up hitting the spear, but then he picks him up for the Rochambeau attempt, but then Jay White ends up gouging the eyes of Ricky Starks. Juice then misses the chair shot attempt, but then Starks hits him with the chair. Jay White comes in, and then he gets hit with the chair, and then he causes a DQ. After that, Jay White retreats, and Starks sits on the chair while the heels retreat. It looks like this isn't over at all, and there's definitely going to be, hopefully, a rematch between both of these men, because if there's any indication, man, both men definitely put on a great match in the main event. I just didn't like the DQ finish. Even though Jay White technically won this match because of the disqualification, you could have done something better, in my opinion. After this match ended roughly around 9:50. And I was like, why did this match end mad early? I then completely forgot that Don Callis was supposed to cut a promo, and he did cut a promo. So Don Callis has the segment. He walks down the ring with no music to a slew of boos by the crowd, and the only thing that is showing on the Tron is basically the events of last week's steel cage match in which Don Callis turned on Kenny Omega. So he walks down the ramp. We get a bunch of piece of shit chants by the crowd. Don Callis, why? Everybody wants to hear him talk about what he did to Kenny Omega, but instead, he will talk about what Kenny did to him. Make no mistake about it, there is only one victim in this scenario, and it's Don Callis. After everything he did for him, the IWGP World Title, Jericho versus Omega at the Tokyo Dome. His first night here, they won the World Championship. Without him, there is no Kenny Omega. Then Kenny Omega comes out, and he proceeds to fight off all the security. And what happens is the Blackpool Combat Club come in from behind, and they take out Kenny Omega. Moxley then ends up hitting the DDT on Kenny Omega, but then Moxley says the war is already over. Him and his pissant friends can't touch them, and it's his final warning. Stay out. They are what everyone in this business pretends to be. They themselves, that being the Blackpool Combat Club, are the elite. And what happens, the music of the Young Bucks play, and the Young Bucks come out with a trash can. And the elite stand tall, but it's only 4-3, and there's one member left. And what happens? Hangman Page music pops up. The crowd just goes berserk. Of course, Hangman comes out with an eye patch. I believe he did wrestle a house show a couple of days ago prior to this event happening. But Hangman comes out with his eye patch. Of course, he's selling the injury that Bryan Danielson gave. I think it was either Bryan Danielson. Yeah, it was definitely Bryan Danielson, or the Blackpool Combat Club, I should say, gave him when they shoved that screwdriver in his eye. So he's selling the injury right there. And what happens is Hangman Page comes out. Both men fight it out. We get a V-trigger by the Bucks. BTE trigger, not a V-trigger. The BTE trigger by the Bucks on Yuta. Hangman ends up going for the buckshot lariat, and then Hangman gets the mic. And he basically cuts this passionate promo and says, they are the heart and soul and the spirit of this place. They are the elite, so run and hide while he can, because at Double or Nothing, it's going to be anarchy in the arena. It's official. We're going to be getting anarchy in the arena at Double or Nothing. And honestly, I'm fucking excited because we all know where this is leading to, because there's a lot of questions that need to be asked when it comes to this storyline / angle. Number one, where is the stance of Konosuke Takeshita? Now, we all know Don Callis has basically been in the ear of Konosuke Takeshita. Where does he stand? Now, we all know this is going to be 4-on-4, but again, what if Konosuke Takeshita ends up playing a role in this match, maybe after the match, and ends up turning on the elite? We're going to have to wait and see for that. And then, of course, you have the Blackpool Combat Club ending up getting the win at Anarchy in the Arena, which then leads to Blood and Guts. And the Elite are missing one member. Who could that one member be? Honestly, it's pretty safe to say that one member for Blood and Guts in the future down the line is going to be Kota Ibushi, because Kota Ibushi has went on record and basically stated that he has his eyes set on AEW, and we're possibly going to get a reunion of the Golden Lovers in AEW with Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi. But honestly, what are my thoughts on this closing segment? Great closing segment. Very rarely you see AEW close the show with a promo segment. Meanwhile, let alone a brawl after a promo segment. But AEW should do more of this. WWE constantly does this all the time with their weekly shows, especially with the Bloodline. But AEW should do more of this, to keep the fan invested. And what AEW did with this closing segment was they kept me invested. And the fact that we're going to be getting anarchy in the arena between the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite, I'm absolutely fucking excited. But yeah, that was AEW Dynamite from May 17th, 2023. Overall thoughts on this show. This was a great show overall. Could you say this was a show that was kind of overshadowed by all the CM Punk drama that has been going on all over the news? Yes, it's a common fucking occurrence with AEW all the fucking time. Whenever AEW does something great, it ends up getting overshadowed by some bullshit. But overall, this was a great show nonetheless. And honestly, I'm definitely excited for Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing is actually getting set up to be a very, very, very good show. So hopefully AEW can go full-fledged with Double or Nothing. And yeah, that was my AEW Dynamite review from May 17th, 2023. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Push that bell for notifications and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is Flamin' Ricky DeRays from the WrestleHavoc Podcast, signing out. See you guys later.